data tapes. That's the line out of the original movie.
Okay, turn that off. Go here. Go here. Boop. Plus this up places. Turn that off. Boop boop boop. Boop skadoop. I think I need a third monitor. This is just getting out of hand.
You don't have 3 monitors? Use Miss Prime Day.
True. Alright, we're live. Okay, go here. Go here. Alright. Now we're ready. Let's give it a couple seconds. People can hop in here, and then we'll actually start recording. Oh, man. I'm kind of envious. I wish I was there. Like,
Yeah, you and me both. I've had FOMO all weekend between Shatterpoint, my buddy's doing Legion. Even the MCP stuff I'm sure was fun.
I heard it was a lot
I
of
know desire
dice.
to go to Texas in July.
That's also true. It's like, what, like 100
I'm
something?
I'm in Florida in July. At least it's dry heat.
I was like,
Probably.
you guys are currently living the Southern boy life, so not me.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of humidity, but it's, I don't know. I manage, I guess. Oh, man, my eyes. All right, we got a barrel in here. Ha ha. Professor Ulysses, welcome, welcome. Doctor. Oh, what a day. I was here when it happened. You were Sarah Cruel. Okay. I also like giving it a minute for people to come into the chat because then they can tell us, hey, your audio is way off already. that's the real secret. Like, you're too loud. You're too quiet. Okay, then give me 5 seconds to fix it.
We have the technology.
Sometimes. We have the technology now, but we don't have the technology in post. That's the issue.
Yeah.
We're not
That's
that
the
kind
real
of
secret.
podcast.
Yeah. All right. Let me make sure I have all my notes. We actually have this. There's so many notes. This is very.
I know this is gonna be an unruly.
Okay, make sure this is in the right order. 1, 2. My eyes.
How many of these things can we put hopefully next to?
Everything. You know, the worst part is I didn't think about what my favorite thing from Ministrav was.
I thought about that. I don't have a hot take though.
Oh,
You're saying your mini strav list down to 1. Like,
it is.
I really have 2.
Okay, that's fine. Because we were gonna have like an actual topic, but now it's just devolved into let's just talk. Where am I right now? Okay, I think I got everything.
Yeah, don't we
Mouse.
actually have like
Let me share.
placeholder written in the notes somewhere? We'll figure this out live.
Sarah Cruel says accuser needs a canon background to finish the trifecta. He's working on the background still.
We're working on that. One technical challenge at a time.
I went back to being blurry. Stupid technology.
Yeah, stupid technology. It never
Touched my
works.
mic. I touched my camera, went back to being blurry.
Just don't touch it.
I moved it a quarter of an inch.
What if you touch it?
Don't break
See,
it.
Like I could touch my camera and nothing happens. Magic.
You probably have a nice camera.
No, I
Damn,
don't.
it refreshed
I
again.
think my camera's like $50.
I have this Logitech 10 whatever, I don't know. Thing I
1080p.
bought
That's
off
what,
Amazon.
that's what mine is. The same camera.
I think that's just the quality. I think it's like a C9 something.
No, that's the same one I got. Yeah.
There you go.
It's got little white lights at you. Look like this little sideways smileys.
Blue.
Oh, there's a blue.
Lights.
Okay, you got the other one. I have that one too. That was my old camera that I upgraded to this one.
Oh,
Okay, I think we're ready. Are you guys ready?
yeah.
All right. Let's do a quick power stretch. Throw my back out while I do that. All right, we're hitting buttons. Make sure I got this pulled up actually. Okay. Boo.
Welcome, my young apprentice. Stretch out with your feelings. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Welcome back to the Rogue Support Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast of Stravaganza stuff. We got a wonderful episode in store for you today. Hopefully, we are going to be past the technical difficulties. We are sorry for last week's episode. It's just growing pains with everything going on. So hopefully, let me know if it's a lot better this time, please, because I can only make it better if you guys tell me about it. So I appreciate everybody for letting us know about the last episode, and I do apologize. First things first, we got a big episode and lots of news to talk about. So we're gonna jump right into this. First off, we got hot takes and cold drinks, and because Accuser said he didn't have anything, I'm gonna target him. What you got, buddy?
For the cold drink, I have sour mango orange passion fruit. This one's pretty good. Edmund's Oast Brewing in Charleston.
Ooh.
I don't know. I picked it up at the grocery store and it seemed pretty good. Hot take. Don't know if I've got one yet. Maybe the. I don't know. I'm pretty excited about these new missions that they gave us at Mini Stravaganza, but I'm sure we'll dive into that more.
That's fair. Okay. I'll do mine. I got a good old sour monkey because it's I'm a brand, I guess. And then and then hot take. And this is gonna go into today's episode, but people are sleeping on shifting and need to get over the fact that they dealt with it for so long and put it back on your list because it is still a very good mission.
It was almost my hot take last week, so glad you hit it this week.
All right, what you got?
It's a good one.
So for me, I have Trogues Graffiti Highway IPA. I am an IPA guy. My wife went to the beer store on Friday and said, "Ooh, this can look cool." So the can does look cool. So and my hot take is, I don't even know if I call it a hot take, but it's more of like a deep cut take. So this is something I feel like we've talked about on this show. You hear it on a lot of podcasts about Shatterpoint. Probably a rule you can use for life as well. But never sleep on anything. Like, always give stuff a try and keep practicing, because we're going to get a little bit later into some of the primaries from Lone Star Open and some of the data. And you're going to see some primaries that frankly get slept on a lot and get told aren't very good. And while I agree, they might not be great primaries. One of the nicest things about Shatterpoint is anybody can succeed when you put enough practice in with a model. So yeah, we're going to get into that data a little bit later, but never, even like a crappy, what isn't conceived as a crappy primary, can do well if you put the reps in with it. So keep at it, keep practicing.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good one, and we'll. Yeah.
No, we're good. We're good.
We're already doing it.
No, it's all good. We both waited,
No,
and
but
then
it
it
is a
was
good one.
we both waited, and then I was like, okay, and then we're getting there. All right. No, agreed.
We're trying to be too polite with each other.
I know.
No, but like it's a really good take. I think if you put the practice into something, the practice is always going to be superior to just picking up like the top meta thing and being able to run with it.
Yeah.
So
We'll get to that a
practice
little bit
is
later.
good no matter what you're doing.
Absolutely. Reps on reps on reps. Okay, so some big news things happened. This little thing called Mini Stravaganza, where we got a whole bunch of cool stuff. And we're going to talk about, I guess, our favorite thing. Maybe a little bit extra because we blew through hot takes, cold drinks the fastest we've done it. So we got a little extra time on our hands. Matt, why don't you go ahead and start us off? What was your favorite thing? And just talk a little bit about Mini Strav.
So my favorite thing, probably, I mean, has to be Paz Vizsla. Like, the fact that we're getting more Mandalorians is sweet. And I think that was the obvious thing I was going to go with. And about it, 3 stam, the ability to come back, the stand, like, I like all of it. The other thing I'm going to take, I know we talked about one thing, the Veers card looks real sweet. Curious about the stance cards, curious what that's going to do, but Veers looks cool. It looks like another kind of techie support piece like Thrawn. So I'm excited. Empire keeps getting all these cool toys. I don't know what to say.
That's a good one. I mean, Empire is getting all sorts of great flavor.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge is going to be picking just 4 for a premiere list.
Which
Trying to scroll
Empire
back
do you
through
want?
all my screenshots from mini strat just to make sure I got
Oh, I
everything.
know
But
which
yeah,
one you're most excited for. You're excited for the Mundi box, like.
Mm, no, I mean, and then like Boba's in there as well. Boba just seems like, unless the
Dengar looked
card is
cool.
trash, like Boba's great. I just, hey, people in Beskar armor, right? Like that's the biggest thing for me. But yeah, Veers looks really cool. Getting outside my own little shell of what I like to play. Veers is sweet.
All right, Accuser, what you got? What drew your attention the most?
I was excited for the new game mode. I kind of alluded to that already. I love having more ways to play with my plastic toys, and not everyone's going to be a crazy competitive gamer, and that's okay. But the fact they sold it as like it's an interlinked 3-mission campaign that you can play, and it's like Saturday morning cartoons. I mean, between the Clone Wars and Rebels, I can think of a lot of great 3-episode arcs, and it's like just 3 episodes of a TV show. I really like that vibe. As for actual units, though, I think Lando Calrissian's probably the thing I'm most excited for in the immediate future. I mean, just the ability to make a scoundrel either Rebel or Empire, depending on what. And I mean, we don't know what the Bespin tag does yet, but he can do that too. Um, there's a lot of really interesting potential for Lando, and Lobot looks amazing. I don't know what his tree does, but I mean, he's got like a reverse Mandalorians are stronger together where people land near him in focus. That's really cool. Neat mechanic. Um, other than that, Cassian Andor, like the fact he's in the pipeline, he's coming sometime early next year. Very cool win.
Awesome.
I find the Lando one a little interesting. Like the Sabak shift seems really cool.
Yeah.
Overall though, like I feel like a lot, like I like that we get a lot more of this messing around with tag stuff and tag options. I
Yeah.
just don't, I don't know. I mean, the Sabak shift's really cool, so I guess it's hard to get too far ahead of it. But
No,
being
but
just
so
naturally just like I guess he gets to be Empire or Rebel, but that was my biggest thing. He's obviously Scoundrel, so it's gonna be
So it's
interesting.
something we were talking about with Diz's premiere list, where when he was like looking at an scoundrel hybrid, and we talked Kanan, it didn't really work because like if you're bringing in Clone Wars stuff, the Clone Wars stuff, there wasn't any like rebel option in the Clone Wars era. It was scoundrel or Empire, where there was cross era synergy. Lando changes that calculation. Um, Suddenly you're able to pull in like Hondo and make Hondo a rebel, and there could be something interesting there. There's, um, I mean, Hondo's the big one, obviously, but Cad Bane maybe there's something. Especially once the bounty hunter box comes. I don't know. There's just Lando with the new Luke secondary being able to provide rerolls to rebels and spies, and suddenly Cad Bane's got rerolls or Hondo's got rerolls because they're rebel now. I mean, Diz, you've run a lot of Hondo. Do a couple rerolls allow him to punch up?
Um, I don't know about that, to be honest with you, because like if you can reroll and fails, sure, and rerolls are typically just good for dice consistency in general because that's what it is.
Mhm.
But that being said, I guess it depends on like what hoops you're having to jump through and what constellations you're making in order to make that happen. And that's going to be the big question on is it enough to run, because like you'd be talking Hondo Lando, and at that point you're running to support primaries, right? And I mean, this is something that I'm very deeply exploring with myself, and eventually we'll get to a topic on it. But I'm starting to become a fan of not taking 2 support primaries and like actively not building that way. And I'd have to see Lando on the table, but from what it seems, he definitely is a very support, and I don't think I'd pair him.
He's
with
more
Hondo.
support for sure.
He's got to
But
be
like
a
even
two
making
force guy as well, right? Like
Yeah.
the
Typically.
scoundrel. It seems to be the scoundrel theme is two force, but ways to refresh.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the new challenge. Who can refresh more force? Cad, Hondo, or Lando?
Probably always Hondo. I think Hondo always has the highest ceiling. He's got the highest potential.
So Sabak shift seems real good.
Actually, no. CAD probably has the highest potential because you can have opportunities where bounty hunters can take out 2 targets, and that's a lot.
That's
of force.
fair.
And Django
Uh,
refreshes 4 force under
yeah.
Cad Bane, and I think Django's another one where it's like he's a scoundrel and he's Clone Wars era. If you make him Rebels, what does that do? If you make him Empire, what does that do?
Yeah, CAD probably has the highest like force refresh available to him. It's just whether you get it or not is dice dependent. Versus Hondo, you're just playing the game. Like,
I don't know, I think Lando's just got a lot to explore. I need to see his tree, but I think just what's on the card, the Sabak shift, there's all sorts of interesting mechanics they're doing with characters where
Yeah.
you manipulate the order deck or all the other stuff he's got going on, or like the benefit for banking force towards the end of your deck. Playing Kanan recently, I've had force left over, and that feels bad, but maybe not now.
maybe. All right, let's go on. I guess my favorite thing, or I guess for me, this is like the most interesting thing, and the thing I'm most excited to explore with. And it's a picture that somebody took a screenshot of one of Dallas's painting streams, and it is him showing the Bosk card, and the fact that Bosk is a 3-cost secondary with 1 era. And I think that is one of the most interesting things to come out of Ministrav, because I think him being 3 and a secondary in that era specifically opens up a lot of building options for a lot of people who have like, well, I guess I'm taking this because I have to. And I think depending on how Bosk's card reads, it's going to create some very interesting situations, and I'm really excited to see what he does and what he brings to the table. Or I'm just on a lot of hopium right now, and it's going to fix my issues.
Are you looking to retire grief already?
Yes.
You bring up a good point about something that's just interesting, that I think got really subtly dropped in what they were saying, but Shakti as a secondary bringing support or bringing force.
Yes.
They kind of just snuck that in there real randomly, and I think that opens up a big build. Right, obviously, it's the first time we saw it. Right, that opens up a big building further development option that they can get into. So I think that's really cool. As just even less as like it's Shakti bringing force, but more just the idea that they're now willing to. We've always seen that secondary and supports have a force count in their corner of their character card, but obviously it's always been 0. So now they're showing us it has a potential to be more than 0. I think that's really cool. I think it just shows us a lot of growth the game can have and stuff. So
It's an interesting exploration, but how do you balance that, right? Because could you imagine like if Obi-2 as a Jedi Master type character brought another force with his package? Either Shakti's not going to be particularly good, or there's something there to balance it, right? Like that's
who knows?
huge.
I think it's just cool. I think just the idea
It's very
that,
cool.
Yeah, they're gonna let us reach into a bag and pull more force from somewhere. Because even if Shakti's not very good, you might almost be like, hey, it brings me extra force.
And it gets
Might
5
as well
force
do
now.
it. Yeah, I right. So who knows? I just thought that was neat. Obviously knowing not much else, but just the idea that secondaries can bring force.
Galactic Republic Vader's 5 force.
Yes. Oof. All right.
One thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead. No, I was saying one thing about Accuser's other one with the mission pack. I was only listening like on my earbuds because I was sitting on the sofa. I didn't really hear much about how they're shaping that out to be. It sounds like it's gonna be more of a casual format, is my guess.
They said there could be events around it,
I
but
know
they
it's
were
more
very
narrative.
vague.
Yeah, I hope. I'm assuming there's going to be no mixing key operations in with the 3 mission packs we have.
No.
I can't imagine based on how they phrased it, but I think it's going to be fun for a tabletop, crack a beer with your buddy and play a game. So,
Or even like a side event at a con, right? Like if you don't make top cut, but you're still there for another day and that's the only game in your bag, it's an option. Like when we did LVO for MCP, having the access to like symbiotes and some of those other more narrative focused missions, which this definitely drew some inspiration from. Like MCP had the Killmonger heist where it's asymmetric and you're doing a mission like that. But it's something cool when you're at a con or hanging out with your buddies, or maybe it is a game store one day type event. I mean, if you're bored of shifting priorities, it's an option.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. Like having run LVO, or no, LVO, ACO, the East Coast LVO, Atlantic City Open for Frontline Gaming. We talked about doing that for next year, trying to find some fun way to play Friday night, because like we do the main event Saturday with the cut Sunday, and Sunday is like a consolation event for everyone who didn't make the cut, and no one really was interested in playing competitive games like basically 3 days in a row. So they're like, oh, maybe we can find some fun way to play. I'm like, maybe this is it. So
Now you've got 2 missions with a third on the way, and
Yeah,
if
I
you've
mean, we
got
have
the
till
time, they
next-
apparently link.
yeah, I mean it'll be next June, right? So yeah, we got plenty of time to let them come out, flesh out. So yeah, no, but that's a good way of thinking about it as like a side event con thing. I think that's gonna be really good.
And side note, they also mentioned another mission pack is coming. I don't think any of us brought that up, but they mentioned a 4th mission pack that won't have a priority role in Struggles 2 and 3.
Oh, interesting. Cool. I heard
Interesting.
something about no
Plum-
priority
Plumber
roll.
dropped that one at one point. I think
Dropping
in the same
bombs.
panel, but
Yeah.
Knowledge bombs. Okay, I got another question for you guys then. Give me, if you had to pick one of the boxes for the upcoming sculpts that they showed for best box sculpt wise overall.
Best or
pulling the
worst?
pictures.
We're gonna
hang
get.
on.
We'll do worst next, but we're doing
Okay,
best
I got
first.
one. I think worst is gonna be easy. Best, I'm absolutely. We're talking about the things they sent just the art of. Huh?
Yes. Yeah. Just the art.
Is it bad that it's the Aqua Droids?
No, because I'm right there. I love
Or
like
what?
I
Like,
I don't want to play Separatists, but I want this box because the Aqua Droids and Riff are so fucking cool. Like I love these
The sharks?
sculpts.
Yeah.
Yes. Like give me this
Yeah.
box. Like I think this is the winner out of like the sculpts that are coming.
I was close on the Kiadi Mundi box, but I don't like how the one Padawan has the exact same
Yeah.
pose. Basically,
I do like that you can build them 3 different ways, though. That was cool.
Yeah.
did I miss that? This is for
Oh
the
yeah,
Padawans?
Yeah.
The Rodian Padawan is like human, Rodian, or Zabrak. I think
Sure.
is
Yep.
said.
Yep. Zabrak. Yeah,
Sweet.
Yeah,
Zabrak.
build your own.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what happens when I was too busy clipping screenshots and posting them in the Discord.
Don't worry,
that
I
missed
I
it.
didn't clip the screenshots. I took yours and then listened.
that's
so
what I
we're
was-
2 halves of a whole participant.
I was getting real good at the quick screen clip button.
I would say
And I was on the other side forwarding it out to people.
I would say a close second would be the Krennic box, but it's only I think the Shore Troopers hold that box back, and the
Mhm.
fact that more Death Troopers are like, I'm tired of painting black. But if I had to pick a single model, it's probably Krennic because they just capture his arrogance so well in that pose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Krennic's
middle
actually
management
pose.
angst.
It's just so good. Sarah Cruel in the chat. Empire Rogue One box was my choice. I was too slow. No, I love it.
All right, my favorite though is probably the Armorer box from what they showed. I mean, and Dallas did a paint stream with some of them. Really cool models, but that little dude firing off a jetpack rocket, like I
Mhm.
love that. I love Paz. Like that model's sick. He is a big tank, and I cannot wait to paint him.
All right, let's do the fun
so
one.
We should start off with we love you artistic people who work for AMG who come up with these cool sculpts, but not gonna lie, the Cassian K2 feel a little bit like a miss to me. I can't
I half
unsee
wonder
the
if it's
Han
paint
sculpt.
scheme.
I just can't unsee the Han sculpt in the Cassian one, and K2
It might be the
is
angle.
kind of
It-
hunched
it-
over. That's fair.
It might be the angle because he is hunched over
not-
in the movie. Like he is like the bot is like his head's forward of his shoulders. That's how his pose
Yeah.
is. But like
It's not like Legion where
way-
they straight took Shatterpoint Leia and put her into the
Fair.
new Legion kit.
Fair.
Fair.
But it's like I like the K2 and it's probably just this picture, but the K2 sculpt just bugs the crap out of me and I can't get over it. And I don't care for Cassian. Cool, it's neat. But I just scroll down, I see Riff, and I'm like, God, I want this box. Like, like this is how I see it. It's very, very, very nice. Okay, Accuser, what is your least favorite sculpt?
Least favorite
on a box
is
level. On a box
hard.
level.
Box level. It. I feel guilty saying it. It might be Delta Squad. I'm not like crazy about the
Yeah,
sculpts they did there.
it's
They're just kind of like all right,
it's
which
clones.
is
It's clones. Like it's clones.
yeah, but they're the clones, and it's going to be the first way you're going to be able to run an all clone Galactic Republic list,
But like
and they're just kind of like all right. I'm hoping maybe the paint scheme, like once they're painted and not just renders,
yeah.
it'll sell me on them. But they're just kind of all right.
I also just feel though it's like how exciting can you make clones? You know what I mean? Like I think like as
Mm.
far as like what the subject material is, I think the sculpts are good. It's just
Yeah, they're fine, but like
Yeah.
there's a bunch of great ones, and then these are just kind of like good.
I mean that's fair because you got Wolf and Wolf is sick. Like that's
God, I love the wolf model. That one's so cool.
all right. Then one last question for Mini Strav, and then we'll move on to the main topic. That is, what was the thing that they announced that caught you off guard the most?
Caught me off guard.
I mean, I think I kind of already mentioned it. It's the Shakti bringing
Yeah.
force. I think is what caught me off guard the most.
I didn't have Delta Squad in my bingo card. That caught me off guard. I was very excited about it, but the fact they were like, "Here's another clone commando squad," I shouldn't be shocked. They just did them in Legion, but
Hmm.
I wasn't expecting it.
Honestly, for me, it's fucking Rift Hampson. Like, who the fuck would like?
Two
He is
random
left field.
episodes of Clone Wars.
I looked it up. There's
Yeah, but,
three.
like-
There's 3 episodes
Is
apparently.
it 3?
There's
Is it 3? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole arc, and it was like, all right, cool. If you're doing another Separatist, you do the giant shark or the giant tarantula.
Yeah, I would have
guess they
thought it would have
went
been
Jaws.
Trench. Yeah, I would have
Yeah.
thought it would have been Trench. I think also kind of it's a little weird that we're gonna it's because when are they on the chart? Like
They
the Terra from
Like,
Below is like
quarter 1 or quarter
Q2.
2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're gonna go. So we only have 3 separatist primaries right now, right? And it's gonna take us till the game's been almost 2 years old to get our 4th separatist primary. Like
good
the game
point.
came out end of Q2 of 2023. So Q2 of 2025, we're gonna see our 4th separatist primary.
I think the issue there though is like when you look at like Clone Wars and what episode 2 basically as far as media goes, that's actually considered canon. Like, what separatist leaders do you have to pick
I
from?
mean, you could do Newt Gunray.
Yeah.
You could do you could get into like any of the Geonosians.
Okay. I mean, I want
There's
There's
Geonosians.
nothing I want to play in my miniature war game more than the cowardly banker, like as my
Wat
primary. Like,
Tambor,
I mean,
Admiral Trench.
no. Okay. Wait.
Ad-
Okay.
Trench is the only other one I would accept because like he actually has a fight scene, however brief. Like, I mean, it's not a deep bench here.
Man, I feel like Newt would be actually a really interesting character for the game because imagine all the trickery and just it would be a 100% like this is a support character who does nothing except for like hide in the corner and direct the army. And that's something that I think would be really cool in the game is to have somebody who can manipulate the order deck, somebody who can just be super manipulative of the game state in different ways, and that's all he's about. He's super weak offensively, super weak defensively, but his abilities are just a banger. Like that is, I could see that being Newt Gunray, and we don't have a character like that. I think Thrawn is the closest thing we have to it, but I don't think he
You
is
can't put
there.
Newt Gunray in the same category as Thrawn.
No, I'm not trying to put him in the same category. I'm saying like, as far as like that type of play style, Thrawn is the closest thing we have to it, and I think Newt Gunray would be a fun one to like explore that play style more with. Sarah Cruel in the chat. I think we're gonna see a CSI push Q2 and Q3 next year. I hope it'd be nice, but it's like we we're talking about here. It's like what do you have to choose from? The pool isn't very big, so it's not surprising that there isn't a whole lot of options.
The other thing they did say, as far as the roadmap goes, is the roadmap they showed is not exhaustive. They kind of like how they did the Adepticon panel and they snuck the Death Star prisoner escape in afterward and was not formally announced. There could still be surprises we just don't know about yet. So
I mean,
maybe we get Trench
Yeah.
this year. We don't know.
October has
Fair.
one box. October has one box. There's got to be something else in October.
Sneak a spider in there.
Unless they dump all of those the missions and they call that like a full release, basically. Maybe.
Because like there is a
Yeah,
theory.
they said that it's a physical product, but I don't think that's soon.
Yeah. it's like there is a theory that because like they didn't show September, that there's nothing in September because MCP has such a major release that month. I don't really believe that theory just because of the fact that I don't think they've done that in the past, where they stalled one game just to promote
Yeah,
another. I don't think they've done that.
yeah, like obviously take the Christmas break, right?
Yeah.
Which, but that's different than what you're talking about. So
Then Ulysses in the chat, he could also bring Droidicas. I want Droidicas. Droidicas would be fun.
yeah,
Give us some Droidicas.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we have so many separatist options for other droids.
Yeah, it's the
Right.
primaries where it's like
Yeah.
a very shallow bench. I mean, I'll take a second Dooku in his pajamas. That's fine. Like that happened in the episode.
Yeah, I don't know when we could get. I mean, obviously, there's a world if they gave us like a Darth Sidious, would he be separatist?
I don't think so.
He's everything. Picked tags at
Yeah.
the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think like if I'm just trying to think of other people we saw on the Clone Wars TV show.
Yeah, and I'm struggling with it. And
who's
I
the big
have
guy
a pretty
with-
solid.
Who's the big guy who changes sides in the middle of the one episode? Giant
Might have-
like frog like chin. Oh my goodness.
I have no idea.
He keeps
Yeah,
trying to
you're-
send, I think it's like Rex, and like he keeps sending clones on like suicide missions. And I think
Oh,
he gets,
Pong Krell.
there you go. I don't know if he actually changes sides, but right, don't they arrest him? Like,
Oh yeah, he's
maybe
100% bad. He's trying to get like the separatist attention, but he never actually like led battle
Okay.
droids. He'd just be
I-
like a, hey, kill your clone supports for things.
Yeah, I was just saying, like maybe I'm trying to think of anybody who could be a primary for separatists at this point.
I'm gonna rack my brain on it. That'll be my homework.
Yeah, good.
Good.
There'll be
Alright.
a test next week.
Oh, Dirge.
okay.
Dirge.
I've got
There
one.
it is.
Pre Vizsla. He's a separatist officer in his first appearance in season 2.
True.
Pre Vizsla, separatist, Death Watch Mandalorian.
True.
Mm.
And then Ulysses in the chat, Dirge, because Dirge was just made canon recently.
There you go.
He was, but not during the Clone Wars. So
fine.
I
He's
don't
still
know if we get a
canon.
primary. out
He's
of
still
it.
canon.
Yeah.
I'm like, still possible. Oh man. All right. And then Cliff Jumper in the chat. I'm excited for Galactic Legends, aka Ultimate Encounters, coming to Shatterpoint. I think Ultimate Encounters /
Oh,
Legends
yeah.
is cool. I think
We
the fact,
glossed over that. That's my bad.
I think that they're beta testing it with like the community. I think that's a really
Public
cool.
beta. That's so
That's
cool.
another cool, surprising thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Massive community beta test. I like that a lot.
And they also alluded to them being cross-compatible with the other missions they provided, so you could like go and do your prison break, but it's just one very beefed up and scary Asajj Ventress.
Yeah. All right. Oh, Sarah Cruel, also in the book, Dark Disciple Quaylen Voss becomes a bad guy temporarily. So there are options. Like there's stuff out there.
That's a deep cut, so deep I forgot about it.
Riv Tamsin.
Yeah, right. That guy from those episodes.
I'm here for it though. I want the sculpt.
The sculpt's cool. Like that's just a
Yeah.
cool looking model.
All right, let's go ahead and move on from Mini Strav. And we had a challenge odds over the last week, and we put it into the Discord, and we didn't have anybody biting yet. And then I said, "Fine, I want CAD." And then somebody else, I think it was Quincy, piped in and said, "That's a good idea." Like I was wanting to say this, CAD. Let's do CAD. And so we did CAD. And we put a poll out to you guys. We ended up doing CAD and Hondo, and yeah, that's it. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic.
That bad, huh?
Oh, it was terrible. So to be honest, it really wasn't that bad. But it also reinforces the thoughts of the whole. You probably shouldn't be taking a support with the support, as far as like primary roles go, because it just didn't. Like we were talking about it, and it's like it kept up and it kept the game going, but it almost seemed to like it was more of like, let me just bleed out slowly while I die instead of like actually doing something to like. And I was doing stuff like I was like, I'm gonna do this, and then it's like, okay, I'm just gonna unravel everything you just did, and the work that you had to put in, I just undid with one activation. So it didn't have the oomph to actually progress my game state anywhere, to where Matt's just playing the game and didn't really have to do anything crazy to make something happen. Whereas I'm doing crazy stuff just to keep from losing. there was a couple times where I almost pulled it back, and there was a few mistakes that we had found, like, oh, I should have just done this, but I should have measured it out, but I didn't quite do it, and I could have used CAD a little better in these certain areas, and that's just rustiness with playing CAD. But it also just reinforced the whole thought process of like the playmakers versus supports as far as primary roles go, and something that we're gonna start working on and developing into a topic here once we can actually like figure out how to word it properly, because it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But the game is on YouTube. Go ahead and check out the Rogue support. I'll put it in the content section, and you can watch the game and laugh at me as I try to remember how to play CAD. It wasn't a bad game, I wouldn't say, but I think the lessons that were learned really go into like the hand in hand with. It would have been much better with like Hunter CAD or Grievous CAD or somebody else who
Maulcad was the other one
yeah.
was in the poll.
Basically anything.
Have you talked about that whole theory on the pod yet? Where
No,
with the
we're
support
building.
versus primary-
We're building
Okay.
the topic still. It's more of a
Yeah.
we're at the beginning stages of the idea, and I want to flush it out
dropping the
before
thoughts,
we
okay.
yeah the spoils. Eventually it'll come, and then we'll have a good long conversation about that one. But yeah,
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
it was an interesting challenge. The odds I enjoyed playing Cat and putting him on the table, but I think just the pairing of Cat Hondo just was a bad pairing, and for Force, even with all the Force refresh, that was probably the hardest part, because and I never want to play the 4 Force again, because I don't care how much Force refresh you have, you are hoping for that window of refresh to be, and it never comes when you need it. It comes right after you needed it, and then it's like, okay, well now I can't do the cool thing I was about to do. So 4 Force bad.
Yeah, I mean, you did a good job managing it through the first time through the order deck, and I don't think it punished you a ton the first time through, and your refreshes came at good times. The second time through, it really was a struggle. I mean, you had some great plays, like you guys watched the game, great Django play, got the
not so fast.
He got the not so fast kill Luke on Luke's activation, which was great. Guarm did bet, like, having not looked down on Guarm a lot personally, and he did fine. Hondo, I think it was a good game overall. I mean, Agent Callus for me just put in a ton of work and punished the crap out of you, but watch the game, check it out. We, as a FYI, we decided not to edit it. It is the full game. That is our plan moving forward, just in the interest of time. If you guys really think we need to edit them down, we'll think about it, because it'll take a little more time to get them out. But just as an FYI, it is a raw cut game. So
hit that 2 times.
And who's up for a challenging the odds this week? Are we doing another one?
Challenges the odds with the
the
audience.
You guys give us So think about it. Hit us up in Discord. Let us know what you want us to try out, test, etc. And let us know.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go ahead and move into our main topic of today. And Matt, you have some interesting information that you want to talk about, and hit it off.
Yeah, statistics. There's going to be a quiz at the end. So,
oh, shit.
So
take good notes.
Lone Star Open happened this weekend. 22 players in Texas, American GT here. Starting off, we'll just shout out Aman from Hello There. Brought it in, took down the win. So congrats to him, and great job for everyone who showed up and played. It seemed like a pretty good spread. So what we want to do is we want to dive into the numbers a little bit. We're going to try to not just read and regurgitate Longshanks, because obviously anybody can do that. I recommend you go check it out. We want to start with is looking at kind of what the meta was, and looking at what was brought the most by players. Not necessarily what was played first. We're going to start with what was brought. And how we're going to do this is I'm just going to go through and just hit some highlights, and then I want to get Diz and Accusers thoughts on these. So most played or most brought: Iden 12 times, Moff Gideon 11, and then Hunter 9, Mando Vader 2 at 8. So let's just start with those top 5. Any surprises, right? So it was Iden Gideon 1, 2 at 12 and 11, and then Hunter 9, Mando Vader 2 at 8.
Surprise, surprise, 3 out of 5 are Empire.
I'm a little surprised Vader 2 was so low compared to Gideon and Iden. Maybe.
I don't know. I think when we talked about anchors, what was that last week? Iden was the one that we kept coming back to. If you're running like the Iden box, I don't think Vader was the anchor point. I think Vader's a situation based tool that you don't run every game, but Iden you can play that every game and feel perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I mean, I wasn't super shocked. That was the one thing that kind of stood out to me in those top 5. So then the interesting one is number 6. So brought 5 times is Lumi. Thought that was pretty like that. That surprised me as the next one on the list behind all
Now,
of them.
when you say brought 5 times, you mean like 5 players
Sorry, yeah,
brought them, or
5
like
players
okay?
brought Luminara. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, 5
Well,
players brought Luminara.
how does
So
that
yeah,
line up with Hunter?
if you're looking what's there, the left column is the number of times they're played, which I want to kind of get into.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little about the comparison, but this is the times they appear in somebody's list.
Yeah, I mean, Luminar is an interesting one. I think she pairs particularly well with Hunter, who, we saw a lot of, and so Luminar doesn't shock me necessarily.
Yeah, it seemed interesting. Like I would have guessed the next one down would have been like Maul or Kanan, or with how much Hunter we saw, Obi. I would have put if you had asked me blind to rate to guess all of these, Lumi still would have been probably in my top like 8 to 10, but I would have put probably Maul, Kanan, and certainly Maul and Obi above Lumi.
I think she's one of those ones that just reward the repetitions, kind of like what we talked about earlier. And if people have been putting the reps in with her, like, I don't think she's bad, and I think she had. I don't remember the stats for Adepticon, but I remember her making a pretty big appearance there, right?
Yeah, I mean, she's neat because she's that weird in between where she's not 100% a revenge primary, because obviously she has upside when you wound stuff. So she kind of brings a little bit of everything. And look, don't sleep on her ability to look at the top card of your order deck. Like that's
that's
huge.
great. Yeah.
Having that free information is great. So, and then Vader 1 falling to 4, like only brought 4 times and only played 5 times, right? That I think that kind of just shows what people have been thinking, that Vader 2 has taken the reins of the Vader world.
Vader 2 is just so good, and I think he does more interesting things for your list. I think we were talking about it in one of the chats earlier, where Vader 1 is just so self-centered, and like there's a value to that, but he's a very straightforward cudgel, and that's not the game. The game is rewards movement, particularly out of activation movement, and Vader brings none of that for your squad. He doesn't do any support. I think a good primary is a mix of like support tech and playmaking tech, and Vader only does playmaking. He doesn't actually do anything to support your squad outside of his identity. So I see the value in Vader 2 just because between the deck manipulation that he brings and being able to move supports around after he wounds things, which Vader does not struggle doing. I don't know. I think he does so much more for your team.
And Sarah Kuhl brings up a good point that maybe Kanan's numbers are a little low just because of the paint time and the newness. I mean, the paint, obviously most people like to bring painted models. GTs do not require, as of now, painting as part of the rules. It's strongly encouraged, but also, yeah, the reps, not everyone plays a ton of games on TTS where they get games in as soon as things are spoiled. So that is a very good point to bring up. What I think then is
he's also
interesting,
newer, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
yeah.
What I think then is interesting is comparing the times they were brought in lists to the times they were played. And this is where it's really interesting because the biggest discrepancy, your curve doesn't really change much, right? Like Gideon just slides 1 above. Like there's not a lot of shifts in those top 5. Where it really gets interesting is like Lumi, who was brought 5 times, only got played 5 times so this list is strictly the Swiss rounds. So Lumi only gets played 5 times, and then you have Han, who's brought 3 times, gets played 7 times. I think it's a little bit of an interesting thing. So I'm curious how many people like there's definitely that strategy of here's my primary list. And we talked about this last week, right? Where like I want to run this as much as possible. My other list is like my throwaway list. So maybe Lumi's in that throwaway list where it's like, it's certainly not a bad list, but like I'm gonna play this round 1 when in theory I have the best matchup, and I'm just gonna get it out of the way, and I'm just gonna run what I want to run the rest of the time. So there's that I found that interesting. Nothing shocked me on this list of actual played frequency. I don't know if anything stands out to the two of you.
I'm shocked how many of those models kind of fall into that category, though. When you look at this, there's like a lot of primaries like going down the list where it's like they showed up once and one player brought them and played them once or twice, and that's, I think, kind of even more surprising. Like the meta's very Iden, Gideon, Hunter focused.
Which, right, we kind of knew that. That's kind of been the
Yeah.
theme. I don't think anybody's shocked by that.
No, it's the amount of the skew that I'm shocked by.
Yeah. One thing, is there anything else that stands out from the primary breakdown for you guys before we jump into the other part of that, which is the unused primaries?
Yes.
Yes,
Go
something
ahead.
else
Yes.
jumps out to you?
Yeah,
All right, what else? What's that?
We look at this whole entire list here of like you don't have like the bottom taken that are in this event, but every single character on this list is very, very commonly discussed. Like there is not a single character that's missing from the commonly discussed characters, and then everybody else is just gone. So what I see looking at this list is a lot of community groupthink and a lot of non-exploration of trying to make things work, and it's either one of two things: either power creep is real and the new shinies are just that good, or two, groupthink is taking a very big hold of the community.
Interesting.
And I think it's a really good point, and we're going to keep going full circle with that thought of looping it back to my hot take. And when we get into looking at the actual breakdown of the higher, like the top meta, so I think that'll be interesting. So then unused, I'll just rattle them off, and we'll talk about, because there's some surprises there for me. Asajj,
Yeah.
General Grievous, Mace, Mother Talzin, Padme, Chirpa, Luke. Those were the unused models. I know, to me, Grievous surprised me.
Yes.
Talzin kind of surprised me as well. What didn't surprise me? Chirpa.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm surprised by Luke. What am I missing there? Because I think Luke's a very solid model. Is it
I think
the
he's
lack
good
of like rebel
enough.
stuff? But
I think that's part of it, right? Is I think people didn't try. I wonder how many people tried to go full rebels, and now I'm actually so is there anything else that stood out? Because like I'm looking here, so one person went full rebels, but they went Ewoks and Spectre rebels.
yeah, or probably brought Mando in somewhere if like you need another just good stuff primary.
Yeah, it's the only person who brought 4 rebels. I mean, I guess technically Logray's not a rebel, right? But Logray's a rebel.
I personally think for me, Grievous is like one of the biggest like standouts of being missing from this list to me. And as somebody who has played against a lot of Grievous lately, because I pushed Joey, I was like, hey, try Grievous in your list, and it has demolished me every single game. And I'm just like, Grievous is still a major threat, and nobody's playing him, and I don't understand why. Maybe people are just tired of the same old hat and they wanted to play something different because they were force-fed Grievous for months. That could
Just
very
lack of
well
droid
be.
releases.
Yeah, and that could very well be just stale character, but Grievous is still an absolute meta threat, and I don't think it's talked about enough or shown enough in events across the board on Longshanks. I think Grievous needs to be like up there in the number taken, probably similar to where Mando is, to be honest, like up in that like 8.
I mean,
that
that's a take.
much?
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that much.
I
was
really do.
surprised. Well, and the other thing with that is I'm surprised that Dooku was only, we didn't get into this, like Dooku was only brought once.
Yeah.
One player brought Dooku. I mean, it was played 3 times, but one player brought Dooku. Those two really surprised me. The Dooku and Grievous numbers being so low.
And Mama. Like I think Mama's still very good. And The issue with Mama is you put her into like the wrong mission, then you like you get stuck on the wrong mission. That she's just kind of like she's not gonna do what she wants to do. And it's
I've
kind of hard.
yet to get her on a table for Never Tell Me the Odds.
Yeah.
She's been I've been trying to get her on a table for Never Tell Me the Odds. So, any other thoughts on our primary breakdown before we get into the next fun one? To loop back to Diz's hot take.
Which one? Which one?
The mission breakdown.
Oh, okay. I want to do this one because I did the
Yeah,
I did the
good.
math.
Yeah, no,
I did the
was-
math.
Yeah.
All
He
right.
got his abacus out. He was sliding his bars across.
I really did though. All right. So out of how many lists was there? 20,
22
22.
players, and everyone, by the way, congrats to the people who organized LSO. I know it was a combination of Hello There group and the Goldar was down there judging.
Yep.
Everybody entered an SBT code. As someone who has TO'd at conventions before, it is so hard to get everyone to enter an SBT code. It makes data so much better, and I love data.
All right.
That is the best
After
thing.
your kudos, I'm gonna
That was my
shame-
little.
I'm gonna
Oh,
shame the
okay.
5 or 6 people. I forgot what count it was, but 5 or 6 people who didn't input a mission for what game you played on. So out of the
No, we have
So the upfront-
22.
Upfront
No, we have-
data entry
no,
was
there's
good.
a few games
rest
that
of it-
Oh, we should have had
Yeah.
48.
Yep.
Mm,
So,
you're right.
out of 48
Mm.
games, there's
Shame.
44 total games with reported missions.
Who's
now-
got the shame bell?
Now brought to LSO, you had Sabotage Showdown at 10 out of 24.
22.
22. 24. 22.
22.
I can't math.
He did the math, but he did it wrong.
Yeah. No, Sabotage Showdown, 10 out of 22. Never Tell Me the Odds, 9 out of 22. And Shifting Priorities, 3 out of 22. Now, for the missions that were actually played, I went through and actually scrolled through all the tabs and all this stuff and counted them out. So I might have like miscounted, just to be fair. I want to say that. So Sabotage was played 20 games. So that was 45% of the games at LSO was a Sabotage game. Never Tell Me the Odds, and I think this one actually kind of surprised me the most. Never Tell Me the Odds was played 19, so that's 44%. So Never Tell Me was 1% off of Sabotage. And then Shifting, 5 times at 11% of games played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am surprised. And I think part of it is people whose lists have a lot of movement want to think, oh, well, Never Tell Me the Odds is good. And especially, I will say, there's definitely a school of thought of I'm bringing ISF and or the Rebel Commandos. I do really well on Never Tell Me the Odds, and I have a chance of catching my opponent in a fields bed of not being able to deploy on that front middle point. I still think Shifting's often probably the better one. Like, it still probably is better.
I think that if you're good at Never Tell Me the Odds and you think you're good to enough that I'm going to bring this mission to a tournament and I should win every time I'm on Never Tell Me the Odds, that means that Shifting is better for you. I honestly think that.
And I do wonder if the lack of shifting is because no Grievous, very minimal Dooku, was just because people weren't bringing droids, and I know the community has a tendency to talk shifting priorities is the droid mission.
I want to go back to what Diz said. So my feeling on that is slightly dependent on your list.
Mhm.
I agree if you're good on Never Tell Me the Odds, you're good on Shifting, and vice versa. I think the force hungry lists want to be on Shifting, because they can't take advantage of the Never Tell, like the extra movement of the struggle tracker.
Mhm.
I think if you're good on both and you aren't a force hungry list, I think you want to be on Never Tell Me the Odds, because you can optimize that ability to get that extra. You don't mind throwing away the force and moving the tracker again. But I'm still surprised at the number.
Let me caveat this because I've been thinking about this very
Okay.
deeply lately. Let's look at one number real quick. How many
Right.
games was Moff Gideon played?
How many games was
22, I think.
25.
25 times
out of 48 games. So your chances of running into a Moff Gideon are almost half of the time, right? If we look at that. Now, if we look at that and you look at what he's doing to your list, is he's going to be taxing your list at one point during that game. That force that you could have used on Never Tell Me the Odds was now used to reserve or put you into a suboptimal position with your order deck. That means you would have been better off playing shifting because you wouldn't have felt that pain.
I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah.
That's I mean makes it, yeah. I don't even have good words for it. That's pretty. I can't argue the logic.
No. Yeah. I mean, granted that 25 is so like my count on 25 is the
Yeah.
top 8.
True.
So there's 47 total games played, right? 40. That doesn't make sense. 48. No, that's not top 8 then. Yeah, so it'd be 48 games.
Isn't there, I
and
think we
then-
have one that has like the total games Moff has played.
25. Yeah, I was making sure if that's the top,
Mhm.
including Swiss or not including Swiss, but it's close enough, right? Like it still makes your point, and I get what you're saying there. That's interesting. I didn't think about that. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with your hot take completely that I think people are sleeping on shifting.
People are shitting on
I
shifting.
I love the poll that you dropped before this episode in the Discord. So go vote, give us your thoughts. But basically on like why you think shifting is low or why people think shifting is low. But yeah, I agree that I was surprised at that breakdown of the 3 missions.
Yeah, I wonder if part of it's like because shifting. Yeah, it was the only mission we had for a while, but I wonder if there's a perception that shifting's the worst of the 3 because you don't get something special, right? You don't have the Shatterpoint effect and sabotage. You don't get the challenging the odds. Shifting's just the objective, and I wonder if that's just not exciting enough,
I
and
think
people overlook it for that reason.
I just think people are bad touched by it because they were forced to play only that mission for so long that they just don't want to look at it.
Mhm.
I think that's really what it is. Like they're just like that's the whole biased against it. That's that option is I'm biased against it because I was forced to play only this mission for so long that I don't even consider it for my list because why would I play something that I was forced to play forever? Whether it's good or not. Why would I? And also with the conversation of if I'm good at shifting, I'm good at Never Tell Me. Well, I'm gonna play the new mission because I'm so good at it. Like, why would I play the old hat?
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
Makes sense. Interesting. I'm curious to look at what the rest of the community thinks in that poll, just to kind of get an idea. It'd be interesting.
I should have made it longer.
All right. So moving on to our data. So we're going to talk about some of the win percentages, and what we're going to do is we're going to focus on primaries that were taken 5 or more times, just because like we saw a lot of those people who got kind of grabbed twice or like brought like once, twice, etc. No, not that one. Not that chart. That's our top. That's our later one. This is just the primary unit rankings. That's why we can't let you do the slides. Come on.
This one?
Not actual slides. We didn't go that far. No, that's total times that units appeared on people's lists.
Which one do we want?
If you go to primary unit rankings, scroll up on that page. There you go. So we will honorable mention to Grand Inquisitor and Hondo, who both went 100% win rate. They only got taken twice, 100% both times. Honorable mention. The big things, again, we want to focus on things that were brought more often just because we're getting better data points out of those. Gideon, 71% win rate. Feels not super shocking there. Brought a lot, won a lot. Again, kind of in the honorable mention, Ahsoka and Dooku at 67%. We're going to hit more on Ahsoka when we get into our 3-1s and then top 4. And again, looping back full circle to my hot take. Again, Dooku, I was surprised he only got brought once. Obviously, he did well. And then scrolling down that list a little bit. So here we get into more of our repeat characters. No shocker. We saw Iden, Vader 2. Hunter is the next thing with 5+ games played. And now we're hitting Hunter at 50%. And then Mando at 16 games played at 50% as well. I'm a little surprised with Mando at 50%, and that'll make more sense when we get into our next breakdown of numbers. Him falling down there to 11 in win percentage. I was a little surprised. Or 11, yeah, 11 overall in win percentage. The biggest thing that surprised me when we talk about number of games is the bottom. If you want to go back to that previous one and scroll down, the 16 through 19 surprised me the most.
I don't have those.
So
ones.
these are all in that one. Yeah. Oh, you don't have it snapped. Okay. So these are all people who all these primaries were brought more than 5 times and all didn't do well. So Solo was played 7 times.
There it is.
And had a 29% win rate, went 2-5. Yeah, this list. Obi-Wan, this is one that these next two surprised me the most.
Yeah, I don't understand these at all.
Obi-Wan went 2-6, and Maul went 2-6. Which, granted, this is just in the Swiss, but the 2-6 for Maul surprised me, seeing as the winning list ran Maul the entire way. Like
Reps
ran
on reps
Maul.
on reps.
Yeah.
I think it's easy for Maul and Kanan though, like to explain. And I think it 100% is when you look at Maul, like you very much see, oh, I just use my health and I hurt myself to do good things. But Maul is such he's let's go back to Shrek, right? Maul is an onion. And there are so many layers to playing Maul that sure you could be good with Maul on face value just by doing what his card says, but like there is such a deeper layer to Maul that makes you like a difference between a good player and a great player. A difference between a 25% win rate and then having a 100% win rate with a character. And it really takes a lot of reps, in my opinion, to really like hammer down Maul's playstyle to be able to be that successful with it. I think he's a great character. I think he's really good. But I think in order to take Maul to an event and win with Maul, you need to have those reps and understand the character at a different level than his face value.
Yeah, and I'd put Kanan, frankly, in the same boat. Like,
Yes.
Kanan is very deep, and a lot of it comes down to list building and understanding how to build around his revenge trigger being a little bit more tag focused. But man, like he's doing so much work on his turn and not on his turn. I'm convinced that there's more to Kanan than what these stats show. I don't know what list was run here, but I'm convinced Kanan's better than the showing.
You hit on a good point, and in general, and like somebody with a statistics background, I will always tell people take everything with a grain of salt, and that's why I'm kind of focusing more on people who got brought 5 or more times, because there are people who are going to look at these results and be like, oh, Grand Inquisitor Hondo, best 2 primaries in the game, they had 100% win rate, they were brought twice. Like let's try to use better numbers and data, but also as was said earlier in the chat, Kanan's new. I think you hit the nail on the head with there's depth to this that we haven't dug into. Maul's not new. Maul is the complete opposite of new. We have had Maul since day one.
OG, yeah.
I am surprised, and I'm someone who loves Maul right now. Like I've been playing Maul. In the future when we get a chance to get him on in and talk to him, like Maul Mando was something he and I have been discussing. Diz, you've been in those conversations talking with him about Maul Mando. Like Maul Mando's been running through leagues. Like, yeah, it's been in your list, my list. Like Maul Mando's good. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that Maul was such a low win percentage.
I would not be surprised, and I'd like to people who like took Maul, if you hear this, I'd like you to come comment on this because I'm actually really curious. Maul to me almost feels like a fallback character to where I'm going to an event and I know how to play Maul, and I was trying out some janky stuff and I didn't get quite comfortable enough with it. Okay, I'm going to throw Maul back into my list and do good with it because it's Maul. I feel like that might have been a take that can be taken quite frequently at events because Maul very well could be a fallback character for a lot of people. Like I've been trying crazy stuff with my list, and I'm at the point where we're a month away from Nova, and I'm like, I just need to go back to Maul because I miss playing Maul. I miss having him on my list. And I played against Joey the other day, and I lost terribly. And I did a terrible Maul showing. So I think Maul is absolutely a character that you have to have continuous repetitions with to get that success from and to utilize him to the max. And that's why I say what I say is yes, on face value, he's a very good character. But I think to get the maximum usage out of Maul, you have to have those repetitions and that practice built up consistently to maximize his usage because he can just die. And if you aren't like super spun up on what Maul is doing in your game currently, then you could just lose him super early, especially with his 2 durability and into how killy the game is right now with the Iden list and the ISF and all that. And it could be just a position of I dropped Maul into the wrong list and he shouldn't have been there.
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah, I don't know if you want to play him into an Iden gun line. He's not getting his revenge trigger, that's for sure.
The shooting Maul, I think, is the biggest weakness he has right now,
Yeah.
for sure. So maybe it is just picking him appropriately when you're selecting your squad.
Yeah, but see,
at the start
Empire
of the
Maul
game.
probably shouldn't be on your the 2 of your 4.
Yeah, I'd be curious. Again, I know we're going to try to talk with these outcomes in more depth in a future episode. I'd be curious to hear the thought process, especially like that Amon went through when he was looking across the table at what he was bringing. So, all right, moving on. I want to take, if we can go to our other chart, and I apologize for the crudeness of this. I threw this together on a Google spreadsheet before the episode. So I want to look at just the people who went 3 and 1 or better. And I'm not saying that this is the meta, but let's call this if you're prepping for Nova, this is some good data you want to look at. So what we have is we had 7 people went 3 and 1 and better. To no shocker to anybody, the 4 most commonly taken primaries, Mando, Iden, Vader 2, Gideon. Shocked. Nobody shocked at all. Hunter. So 4 out of 7 people took those. 3 out of 7 took Hunter. I don't have a lot of surprise in any of this.
No.
I will say what's surprising on this list is we just talked about how bad Kanan did. There is a Kanan player in the top 7, Jesse. A name that nobody expects. 3 kind of surprising names, right? Starting at the end, we see Anakin, an Anakin player top 7.
I mean,
went
that's
3 and
cool.
1 with Anakin in their list. Darth Myers. Kanan, we just talked about having a bad showing, right? We mentioned that. Grand Inquisitor. I mean, Grand Inquisitor made top 4, made the cut. Just, again, you only have to play these people once potentially and kind of throw them away. But obviously somebody who's making a top cut is thinking of Grand Inquisitor in their list. Ahsoka. Again, Ahsoka is my hot take, and we will get to that more as we break down the top 4. And then Hondo. One Hondo, the Hondo player top forward. Again, I don't think that's the less surprising. I guess Diz, you kind of like Hondo, right? I mean,
kind of.
So
I slept on.
Great.
He slept on.
Yeah. Anything? Starting with just the top 7, and then rounding out that list. So we hit the 4s, the 3s. Lumi was brought twice, and Maul was brought twice, and then there's other people we mentioned were brought once. Because obviously everyone listening on Spotify or whatever podcast source can't see our chart. So, I think the biggest surprises on this list were, frankly, to me, Anakin. Anakin showing up in the top 7 surprised me. Ahsoka, not as much knowing the player. Having seen Phil's success and having played against him, I'm not surprised. But again, that's all circles back to the hot take, which we'll get when we talk about the top 4. Anything stand out to you guys?
The thing that stands out to me immediately is there's a few models on here that we just talked about. Maul, Kanan, not having the best showing overall, but here they are. They made the top cut.
Well, and that well, so this is just story. This is just the 7, right? The 7 people went 3-1, so winning records.
Right.
The top cut gets even more surprising. So anything else before we talk about just the top cut specifically?
What stands out the most to me in this chart is the Hundo.
Hundo, yeah, sorry. Again, I typed this real quick.
No, I'm just gonna use it.
Excuse me, it's Hondo.
I didn't want to yell
That's
into
a
the mic. Was anyways, I think the coolest thing here is Grand Inquisitor is like Dennis shows that you can take Grand Inquisitor competitively. Duncan has shown it repeatedly times, and I'm still of a mindset that I don't like Grand Inquisitor because in my head I'm 100% biased against that. He's just not good. But people here are showing that Grand Inquisitor is good enough to get you to a top cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you put the reps in, it works.
Yep.
So then looking at top cut, so this is where I think the data is the most interesting to me.
Which slide is this one?
No, same thing. I mean, it's just so
Oh,
the top
okay.
cut is just that top
Oh,
bracket,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So 4 people make top cut, right? 3 of the 4 people brought Mando. And we had we had Mandos in the finals, right? We had a Mando mirror in the final.
Yes.
I think a lot of that is how frequently we see Empire, and Mando is really good in Empire.
I want to talk on this real quick. Okay.
Yeah, go.
And I was talking to Omnis the other day, and he was saying, so should I get Mando? And I told him, I look at Mando as Maul 2.0. He has very good mobility. He has very good displacement because he has diceless displacement. Sure, it's conditional, but it's very easy to meet those conditions. The only thing that I see different between Maul and Mando is more, it's less force efficient than Maul is. Other than that, they're pretty similar veins as being they're good for your team, they're good by themselves, they're just a good stuff character, and Mando will probably be another character just like Maul that will always have a spot in a top cut of this game.
Yeah, I can't argue. I think you're going to see this trend a lot. So we saw Mando was brought by 3 out of the 4 players. Iden, 3 out of the 4 players. Vader 2, 3, or sorry, Iden 2 out of 4. Vader 2 out of 4. Hunter then 2 out of 4. So Gideon took a step back. Gideon was only 1 out of 4. Despite being the highest win percentage of people who got played 5 or more times. And then Maul 2 out of 4, right? So Maul coming from the bottom, 2 of the 4 people who top cut brought Maul. And then so those are all the 2s, and then rounding it out, we had a Hondo, we had an Ahsoka, we had a GI and a Grand Inquisitor and a Lumi in the top cut. I'm not surprised by the Empire. The interesting thing is like Gideon took a hit there. So yes, Gideon was brought second most overall in list behind Iden. Gideon was played the most in the entire tournament. He was not. He was the 3rd most represented Empire character in the top cut. I wonder if that's telling about Gideon. I mean, obviously there's some amount of just variability in that, but I'm curious on that one. I think that's the biggest thing to me.
I think Gideon
What's running with him.
I don't know. I think the Gideon thing is the thing that I've been talking about lately. Is I think Gideon loses steam the higher up in the tables you get, because the better the player, they're gonna know how to not be hurt by Gideon. And like, what's his big thing that he's doing to hurt a list? Well, he's taxing you. Well, what if Gideon never taxes you? Then like his shtick is never relevant. So how is he impacting the game? Well, now he's impacting the game by tie breaks. Well, people know how to get around tie breaks because they've played with Brother for the past however long. What's his other thing? His identity, in my opinion, Gideon's identity is trash. I 100% think that, and I'll keep saying that. His identity is so conditional that it makes it hardly ever happen, because usually if you're attacking melee, you either already control the point that the person's on, or you are a tiebreak piece and you're going to be getting that point anyways. Now, if you're doing the people who aren't Gideon and they're using the identity, well, it's just one die. It's so conditional for one die, and I just don't like it.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
I am playing Moth in my list though, for what it's worth, but
So where I think it's really interesting, and this is something I didn't get to throw on this chart yet, but I want to talk about, is frequency of things that got played
yeah.
in the top cut. So obviously we had 3 rounds of the 3 games played in the top cut, 2 semifinals, 1 finals match. So 12 total primaries got selected. From this list, Lumi never got played. GI never got played in the top cut. Hondo never got played. Vader 2 never got played in the top cut, despite 2 of the players having them. So the first top cut, so where it gets interesting, so Gideon got played once. So there was a Gideon Iden player. That happened once. Hunter got played once. It was Hunter Mando. Ahsoka got played twice, semifinals and finals. Mando got played 5 times.
Cause he's good. Like,
yeah, we have spent so much time talking about Empire, and I think not just us, the community as a whole. I mean, not that anyone's look. No one was sleeping on Mando. I don't think you'd find a single person who is doing this to say Mando was bad. It is bad in any way. I just think if you had given these numbers to the top 100 players and said, "Hey, would you expect this?" Or if you just gave them the shell and say, "Fill in all the primaries around all these data points," I would be surprised if anybody, maybe minus the 3 people, Amon, Phil, and Cody, who all brought Mando to their top cut. I would be surprised if that number, if you told me, "Hey, one primary shows up 3 times in the top cut, and it gets played in, of the 3 total games, it gets played in all 3 games it showed up in, and in 2 of the games it got played twice," I don't think a single person picks Mando. I think people are picking Iden or Vader or Gideon for that.
I agree.
So I just think I think that the numbers are showing that, again, like, we all know we have to be prepared for Empire, but now you got to be prepared for Mando too. Like, you have to have a plan.
But what can you do
So
with
what's
Mando?
running with Mando?
Wound Mando. Oh, what's running with Mando?
Everything.
So in the top cut, everything, right? So we saw in the
know you can
semifinals,
everything, yes.
we saw a Mando Maul versus a Mando Hunter.
I meant like secondary and support. Like, what shell is Mando running with? That's what I'm interested in. Is it Mando or is it what he's running with? If it's Mando and like Gideon Hask, is it Mando or is it Gideon Hask carrying?
But Mando doesn't get benefit from Hask. Like, and if you're going
Well,
Mando
so
Maul,
let's-
But he's just general good stuff, right?
but it's like if you go Mando Maul, you have two actions or 2 activations that are benefiting from Hask. Like, I wouldn't chalk that up to just Hask is the one that's running that game.
Sure. So Amon ran Mando with Death Trooper Escort and Rebel Commandos. Phil ran Mando with Sabine and Rebel Commandos. And Cody ran Mando with Chewie and R2 Lando.
Mando's just good. That's what this says.
Yeah,
Like-
right? Like, so of that, the only repeat thing is 2 of the people brought Rebel Commandos. We saw 3 different secondaries and 2 different supports to run with Mando.
And that's the question I needed answered. Okay,
Yeah,
so it's Mando.
whatever works for you, right? Like, whatever fits the shell you need to fit, it's Mando. Like, yeah, I think that's the coolest takeaway from this whole thing.
I think that's something to like take note of, is if you're building a premiere list and you're like, I know what I want to run. I got my 1 list and I got my 2 list. Okay, I could fit in the 3rd. Okay, now what do I run for my 4th? Oh, I'll just throw Mando in. Like, I feel like that's just the answer right now. Is I don't think you'd be wrong just to say, I have like a good 3. Okay, I'm just gonna throw Mando in and then make his support fit whatever like I want to do, and then what direction I want to take him in. I think Mando's just that character, and it comes back to my take on Maul when the game first came out is you can pretty much run anything you want with Maul and still feel good about it. Like there's nothing that you run with Maul that makes you be like, I really don't want to play this list now. Just because he doesn't really care that much about who he's running with, as long as you can pay attention to your range bands and your positioning properly. And I would argue the same thing with Maul. Like you can run pretty much whatever you want with these two characters, and that's what makes them so universally good, and just they're going to be around for a long time.
And guess what? The Mando in theory is only getting better because we're getting a whole box of Mandos. Like, I mean, and Mando hits some decent tags, right? Like, obviously that New Republic tag, right, is a little not fleshed out right now, but the Republic era, the Rebel era tag is good. Like, Rebellion tag is good. We have that. We have so many things now, and he plays so well.
More secondary bounty hunters.
Yeah, I mean, the future is Mando because this is the way.
This is the way. Heard it here first.
Yeah, I know. See, that's the thing, right? Like, none of these are hot. None of this is shocking. You should.
No.
I will say again. I go back to. I think if you gave people these numbers, people are putting an Empire person in that slot, not Mando. I think it just shows that people like top players are seeing the value that you just pointed out with. There is so much build potential in Mando. He fits in so many places. I know people early on were worried about that clan of 2, and they're like, "Oh, well, I can only run scoundrels, bounty hunters, and mercenaries."
No.
It's so easy to just position him because you get the dash first, so like you can just dash around and get just out of range 2, right?
Yeah, and range dash is longer than range 2 by a
Yep.
hair, but it's still longer.
Exactly.
I haven't played him a ton, but that's like never been my problem. Is that is not an inconvenience.
Well,
Clearly, you need to play him more often.
it's like Matt and I were talking. It's like out of what we said, like roughly 20 plus games, ran into one incident where we messed it up.
Mhm.
Like it's hard to mess it up.
It wasn't even mess it up. It was one incident which was like, "Oh, I didn't get to move where I wanted to move
Yeah.
to do it." Like, wasn't even I just oh crap. And that was Friday for me. I'm like, I really wanted to be here, but I couldn't exactly fit where I wanted to be, so I guess I'll have to be slightly over here. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Not really hurting me. So yeah. So that is kind of my overall take from the numbers for LSO. I know we went a little bit deep into these, but I think they're really interesting, and also trying to like read what's off the screen so people listening don't have to be confused by what we're talking about. So,
all right. So I have a question for the both of you then, and that's going to be based off of this LSO. Where do you think the meta is / headed, and what should you, as a player, if you were to go to an event next weekend, what is like your biggest worry? We'll start with Phil.
Oh,
I was looking at you. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, you've got to be prepared for the Empire matchup. You've got to know how to handle Gideon, play the tax, and understand that you're probably going to have to play what you draw, or be willing to pay the extra cost. And don't do it on Never Tell Me the Odds, because Diz, I don't think you're wrong on that. I think that's where he really excels, is taxing you on that mission. So I think you've got to know how to play that. I think Mando's worth a consideration if you can't quite figure out your fourth primary. Maybe Mando, maybe Maul, maybe both if you can't figure out what you're running. But more than anything else, put in the reps. Like, you can make something work. Grand Inquisitor made the cut. And that is just a case in point. If you want to make Chirpa work, put in the work and make him work. Talzin, Grievous, they shouldn't be on the bench. There are
True.
good models that are not named Iden and Moff Gideon.
True. I would
Who's in-
say.
oh, yeah, go. You go.
I would say I was gonna give you a little time to think. 'Cause you're a little like you're all.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm really in the tank now on this. So go.
Why did I have to go first? I needed more time to think, but I riffed.
I honestly think like number one, yes, Empire. Number two, honestly, the best thing you could do to prepare for anything is play pickup games and don't force matchups. I think the only matchup you should really force is some Empire, but then you're also doing yourself a disservice if that's only the only thing you're really prepping for. Like, just play the game and like, because you never know what you're gonna see, and I think that this shows that. You see Grand Inquisitor, you see Hondo, you see Ahsoka, you see an Anakin. You see, like, there's so many different things. Like, I would have thought an Anakin would be top 8. I never would have thought Grand Inquisitor. I guess I would have if Duncan was at it. I think Grand Inquisitor might be there, but Dennis too. Dennis is a great player. Ahsoka, Hondo, all these different types of things. You never know what you're gonna see, so the best thing that you can do is just play the game and don't shit on people for trying stuff out.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
that's
think
a
you're
really
allowed to
good
use
one.
that.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll use a reaction because that was my hot take. So.
Ah, I beat you to it.
So if I'm going to an event next weekend, I'm bringing Mando Maul and Hunter Lumi or Hunter Obi. Because
Okay.
I think the way to try to mitigate Mando is wound Mando.
Yeah.
Because Mando's strengths are being able to reposition onto a point and potentially stop you from flipping it. And I think the reason I'm bringing an Obi Hunter or Obi Lumi is I want that ARF expose because I think it's hard to wound Mando without exposing Mando. I think you want to expose Mando and focus down Mando. And I think that may be the better way because even like Vader 2 really isn't going to walk up in one shot Mando, right?
If you got R, if you can, but that's about it.
Not Vader 2, he's not.
Yeah,
Vader 1
Vader
can.
1, yeah.
Vader 1. Oh, sorry, misheard.
But even like Maul,
or-
like I'm just thinking of like exposing because Mando's expertise is busted. I think so in my experience, when Mando dies for me, it's small arms fire. It is, and it's oddly been mostly against Republic because Republic's in the same boat of not having to wound as much. And the other reason I say Lumi is like either way, I think I'm bringing Wrecker Crosshair as my two support or my two secondaries. It's just you want the Lumi to have your own little kind of counter option for like your own little like revenge type triggers, or do you just want Obi for the defensive nature? But I think that's where my head's at if I'm playing this weekend in a premiere event.
All right, Accuser, what are you playing this weekend?
I'm still starting with Kanan.
Okay.
The stats have not deterred me from that. I still think he's really good. I think I'd be giving Mando a second look. So I think that a Kanan Mando can run Sabine no problem, and you're meeting a Spectre condition. From there, I think I'd actually go back to Bad Batch and Hondo. I really like that combo, and Hondo's a good scoundrel trigger for most of the batch. You can scoundrel Wrecker Arf and be perfectly happy with your choices in life. Yeah, and then from there, I think it's a toss-up. I mean, Hunter, Tekko, and then do you bring... I think there's an argument for Rex. I think there's definitely an argument for Crosshair, or even Wolf. Like, if you really want your crits to stick and not get rolled down into certain matchups, I don't think Wolf's a bad pick.
What are you bringing?
What am I
Besides your hot
bringing?
take, what are you actually bringing?
You can just name 3. We know Maul's one of them.
That's fair. So for me, sorry, I'm responding to Sarah Cool real quick because it said Mando Thrawn. I still think might be the thing. Just saying. And then Matt says that sounds interesting. Mando might be running all Empire. Yep, Darks and Dark Trooper Escort. And then I say, stop giving away my tech. Anyways,
You have your own podcast for that.
Tech. Yeah.
I did tell you Thrawn was gonna win Nova.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Anyways, honestly, the biggest thing I can say with if I would go to an event next weekend, what I would take is going to be what I'm. Sarah Krill, I'm sorry. No, it's absolutely his tech. Me and him been talking a lot offline, and he's been chirping in my ear, and I'm biting at the worm. But 100%, whatever I like. Currently, I'm doing Hondo, Maul, Mando, and Moff. And I 100% think that I'm going to run that, and it's because it's what I'm playing at the moment. And if I tried jumping ship right now, it would be a disaster. Play what you know, play what you have reps with, play what you're prepared to play.
Agreed. Can't disagree with that one.
Sarah Girl. Dot 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 dot. All right. Phil, you have the honor of giving the segment of Unlearn the training thingy that I can't remember the name of exactly.
Unlearn what you have learned.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, that's the one. And I think we've actually stumbled into a good one this week. I think people should be putting shifting priorities in their list, and I think that's where we start this week. Go play a game on shifting priorities and get good at
Yeah.
it.
Also, let us know. Let us know if you play it
Yeah.
and you think, hey, I went and tried it again and still hate it because it's boring, or hate it because it's bad, or hey, I went and played it and haven't played it in a while, and hey, I don't hate this. So let us know.
Yeah, let us know, or if like we've got all the chats now for different factions. If you want to go riff on lists, we'll pitch in where we think things will work on shifting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And is there anything else that you guys would like to say to close out this episode?
No, keep getting games in.
Yeah.
I got a lot
One
in this
event's
week.
not the full meta, but it's informative, so don't
Mhm.
be turned off to running certain things just because these stats were what they were.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that's a
Anakin can
great
do
point.
work.
I have something that we forgot to do last week, and we almost forgot to do it again this week. Big thank you to our new patrons who signed up with our new Patreon with the relaunch of it. Number one being Sarah Cruel in the chat, and he also reminded me, he's like, "Hey man, are you gonna give me my community tag because I am in your community?" And I was like, "Thank you for reminding me because I'm terrible at this." But so Sarah Cruel being a patron, we got Kevin, and we got I'm terrible at this job.
He had one job
I did. Kevin,
besides every other job.
Amon, of course, Sarah Cruel, and Bargast, as always. So thank you guys for joining the party and supporting the show. And also, I would like to give one more shout out to Amon for doing a wonderful job of playing what he knows and sticking to the list and not changing last minute like I thought he was going to. Shots fired, buddy.
I'm dying to know the secrets of that list because Mando, Death Trooper, Rebel Commando is the oddest pairing I've ever heard of.
Yeah, no, he sent it to me and I was like, I'm just happy you're sticking with it. So no, good job, Amon. Congrats on taking down LSO. And I saw a picture of the GT trophy and that thing's clean. Like I want one real bad.
Yeah. Yeah, when they showed that a couple months ago with all the prizes, it's great.
So, but with that, we hope you guys enjoyed the show. And if you have any feedback, comments, anything you want to say, if you want to tell Phil to shave his head so he matches the bald meta, feel free to do that too. But thanks you for listening as always and for being you. I think that's it. I still don't have a closing for us. We need to figure it out.
We got to workshop that.
Gotta workshop at it. If you're a listener, and of course you're a listener because you're still listening at this point, but if you would like to help us figure out how we want to close the shows out, feel free to talk in the Discord. Link will be in the description. And it looks like I got the link fixed finally because people are saying, hey, I'm not getting kicked out finally. So it's working. Go ahead and click on that link and join the Discord. Come join the conversation. And thank you for being you.
Welcome, my young apprentice. Stretch out with your feelings.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
All right, we're still live. Still live on
That's
Twitch,
Sarah
but the
Cole's
episode is over.
Not
so.
yet. That was great from Sarah
Not
Cole. It's-
Some people just don't know what's right. See that accuser? Cliff Jumper is just trying to get you to embrace your dark side.
I couldn't have the chat open. I opened the chat briefly and
Oh.
Twitch slowed down. I could see myself lagging on Twitch. I was like, I gotta close this.
Things are happening. I don't like it. I hope I didn't notice any issues. Like there was no you just being like blah 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 blah. Then your face of like, oh god, I'm interrupting everybody right now. Like, so I think the internet was better this time. I think we got it figured out.
Okay.
So
We fixed it.
Yeah.
I think we got it.
Hopefully that solved it. Although I gotta figure out why my
Next is the webcam.
Honestly, it wasn't that bad. There was a few times where it glitched out, but it really wasn't that bad for most of it. So, sounded good here on Twitch. Well, thanks, Eric Cruel. All right, guys, in the Twitch chat, thank you for hanging out with us. And
Thanks for hanging,
contributing.
guys.
Yeah. As always, we appreciate it.
No talking over this time. Sounded great. Awesome. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah, good. We're figuring it out.
Did it.
We did it. All right. Everybody in the Twitch chat, thanks for hanging out. I'm going to close this down. We'll catch you guys later.
Have a good night.
Bye.